Mr. Bale,
Here.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes, here.
Mr. Horton,
Here.
Mrs. Showerman. Here. Mr. Scatella,
Here.
Mr. Winarski.
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move into executive session, please.
The one show. That I hear they're having the fish fry.
Yeah,
me excited. I was like, damn. Actually, I was like that.
Don't break it.
I've never actually used the gavel.
Just hit the coffee.
Nice rain.
Did we get everyone back? Did we lose anyone? Alright. Call the meeting back to order. Need to go to an executive session to seek counsel. There have been some requests for public speaking at today's meeting. And though that had not historically been done, we're gonna go ahead and open the floor for public speaking and in the future look at the possibility of adjusting our rules or seek legal guidance on how to handle that in the future. I believe that we had Mary that wanted to speak. If you put in your time first, we're gonna give everybody 3 minutes.
3 minutes,
Yes.
okay, well, not sure if I'll fill 3 minutes. I'm actually speaking specifically on the library fund budget appropriation, fund budget revised revenue and expenditures of 278,420 for reorganization of library staff. This is something that I did speak to my council representative about, and as a longtime employee of the library, one of the things that I said to him was that I recognize that there have been many restructurings of library staff over time. Well, many other departments too, but library for sure. And there is some, I guess, discretion that the director and his or her team has in setting that up. Having said that, I do have some concerns. It does seem to be kind of top heavy in the number of assistant directors for a fairly medium-sized library system. I am mostly concerned though, however, because of the number of vacant positions that there have been, even though council denied the request to veto money for the library at the end of the year, denied the veto, overrode the veto. In fact, it's been, in my view, an attack on the library all year long. There have been a lot of positions that have been vacated, left vacant, not filled. Either dragging their feet on filling it on for whatever the reason, I don't know. But that continues to be a big concern. And if the library loses yet more funding, we have been told that the library won't lose anything with regards to Gannon. And it looks pretty clear that they've been losing and they're still losing. So I'm asking that this ordinance proposal get rejected. I'd like to see it struck from the agenda entirely. It's not well thought out, I don't believe. And I believe in a lot of ways it's coercion of library staff and the administration within the library, because I think they have to compromise in order to get something, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak today?
Number one, I agree with that. Two, I'm concerned about line item 6 on the finance agenda.
Excuse me, can you identify yourself? So I can,
Um,
just for the
Sorry.
record, because
On
yeah.
Hugh McCartney, Northeast Township, District 2.
Thank you.
It seems to me this would be a huge mistake to create a new position in elections during a presidential election year. I'm not sure who, would you guys fill that position, or would
I wouldn't normally be terribly responsive, but I think that you misread the ordinance. It is actually a reclassification of an existing position.
Okay. So no new people would be coming in there too. There would be nobody new entering into,
Right, Karen, that's.
That's
I read it.
correct.
Well, that's kind of true, but we gonna hire some per diem records, we gonna hire who we need to hire to have a safe, secure, and fair election.
I agree with that.
Because that's what we do here. And in presidential elections, with the exception of the mail-in ballot, these have progressively grown. And as you can see, our election office has grown and our transparency has grown with it. So we'll do what we have to do to man that office. So we can't tell you that unequivocally.
Oh, okay,
That's fair, right?
that is fair.
Mhm.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is a drastic change, if this was a drastic change during the presidential election.
Desperate times require desperate measures. And so what we're up against, Mr. McCartney, are lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuit. And so you have to have some understanding and patience on this office. And what we're up against is we're gonna be getting a budget in 45 days. We're gonna be receiving mail-in ballots in 52 days. We're gonna have walk-in a regular election on November 5th. It's in between all that, it's a lot of other moving parts. We have a library, the government still gotta run, so hopefully we will hire some other people. Because it'd be unfair to our staff and it would be dereliction of duty to do less. So I'm hoping that we do. I'm looking forward to it. If it's needed, the bottom line is. I'll say this part. Erie County's Board of Election and our voter registration office is the gold standard for the Commonwealth. It's widely known and stuff. And so we're gonna do what we have to do to maintain that level of integrity.
I agree with that.
So,
That's why I'm standing up here saying, I don't think we need to make a change. However, if it's a lateral change, I don't know. I'm
I
just worried.
I probably spoke out of turn because it's a time for public comment, not public discussion. And
I'm
it's a
sorry.
good amount of the gentleman's time. Did you have anything else?
Start them over.
In particular? Okay.
Give them 3 more minutes, man.
Was there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Anybody else from the public would like to speak? Hearing none. We'll go ahead and proceed with our agenda.
Well.
I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Leopold, on the Zoom.
Yes, hi, folks. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before the caucus. I'm always on the side of sunshine and public comment. And so I appreciate anything you can do in that regard. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. If no one else left to speak, and
I just want to say that it's a breath of fresh air that we get to speak. And that you guys, because we never get to ask questions or have any back and forth, and so this is a new thing for me, and I'm really pleased. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak today? Okay. Moving on to item number 1, ordinance 48, 2024 public health fund budget supplemental appropriation of $7,000 for reimbursement from maternal child health program. We have somebody from the administration speaking to us, I think so. We discussed that in the last meeting, any concerns? Continue moving forward with that one for the second read. Number 2, ordinance number 49, 2024, amending ordinance 76, 2010, Erie County Land and Subdivision Ordinance. Director Moran and said that she was not able to make the meeting today. I do have a couple things I'd like to talk about, address with that one. You know, this ordinance actually kind of taught me the importance of going to 2 reads or something. You think that when you have a public hearing and a first read that you got all the input. Since I came back from vacation on Friday, my phone has been lit up nonstop of people that wanted to talk about this and have input. Just before this meeting, I had another gentleman call me from the industry. And a lot of those comments were aligning with an email I think the clerk distributed to everyone regarding 3 points that people had some contention with. Before we get too deep into that though, Ms. Moran had suggested that when we substantially amend this ordinance, that it would put us back to a public hearing, restart the process, and ask Tom if he could look into that. Do you have an opinion on as to what should happen if we should substantially amend?
Yeah, that's a very difficult word to define anyways, what is substantial. I don't think any of these proposals are substantial. But, you know, the way the process is supposed to go is the commission first is to have a meeting, a public meeting, to hear what other municipalities have to say about it, especially the ones that think there are 26 or 13 that don't have local. Well, okay, yeah, so especially those, but the others too, they work hand in hand. All of the municipalities in Erie County work with the Erie County Planning Commission and Department. Under the law, they're supposed to have a public meeting for any kind of amendment to the law. And that has been represented to us that that a meeting was held. It's at that meeting where the administrative agency gets feedback from different people, from municipalities, townships, whatever, who may have suggestions or criticism of one sort or another. Once that is resolved, and I assume, although I don't know whether that occurred or whether it occurred, whether it was advertised, or whether there were any comments, and if there were comments, what comments did they receive from everybody? I'm not aware of any of that stuff. But then it goes to county council, and county council gets to reject it, reject the proposed amendments, change them, add some, gets to do what it wants pretty much. But it has to have a hearing, and supposedly we did at the last meeting. But it's not allowed, it has to wait at least 45 days before it could approve of the amendments.
Approve of the original language or approve of amendments?
Well, before council is an amendment to the existing planning commission. So we're talking about further amendments or further changes that council might make. What I'm saying is that after council gets this, they have to have a hearing and they have to entertain any criticism that we might get from any other municipality or township that this is going to affect. And council cannot issue an ordinance or resolution until at least 45 days goes by. I don't know, 45
From the
days.
date of our public hearing.
No, from the date of receipt of the amendments from the agency. I don't know, 45 days.
Probably not close to it.
Now, as far as going back, you don't go back. If council's not ready to pass this ordinance or determine whether the amendments are appropriate or not, or whether there should be additional amendments, or whether it should entertain more criticism for municipalities that may not have had an opportunity to speak at the meeting that the commission had. You could always do that. And the only thing that you would have to do is have another hearing before you pass it.
A hearing or public advertisement?
Well, both.
Okay.
It would be just another meeting for council. So it really isn't. It's no different than if council said, we'll table this and we'll hear it in 2 weeks. And if you didn't hear it in 2 weeks and 45 days went by, council would say that we're going to extend the 45 days, because the language is council may, after 45 days, or may extend it may adopt it within 45 days, not that it shall. So really, the idea of having another hearing is really not an impediment. It's no different than if you tabled it and then looked at it again, had another hearing, and it was read twice.
Hmm.
So it doesn't go back to the agency. The agency is done. This is a council issue completely right now.
Mr. Chairman, I did talk to Jessica today and she told me to read what her response was. I asked her about these three things.
Sure.
She said if we do significant changes to the amendment, we will have to restart the process, 45 plus days, review period, etc. There are several solar proposals there that can sneak in without any requirements. Of course, this amendment, once this amendment is adopted, we could begin to evaluate the suggestions and then prepare the amendments that are sound.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, I think this is what we talked about in the meeting before. We felt that some protection at this point, I mean, because if not, we're gonna wait and we're gonna leave them completely unprotected. And I think that, you know, waiting on these three, if we're considering them minor adjustments, but we're not allowed, they have zero protection.
Well, I brought this up, because I think one of these is particularly more onerous than the others. And I wanted to understand, if we were to strike language, whether that was a substantial adjustment. In my view, it would not be, because when you were striking language that previously didn't exist, you're not really changing anything. Yes, Andre?
Council has suggested that there's not really a lot of material changes in it, and I have to echo what Councilman Bell said. I think some protection is better than that. And I for one would be all for moving ahead with it, and if we do need to make material changes, I think it'd be more appropriate to do it at that time. And I think it gives us time to really review and go back, as opposed to the onerous way of doing it, waiting 45 days, doing another hearing. I think we just move ahead.
The item number one, I've talked, from, and I asked her to print me out an email if you guys want to reflect on this. This is, in the letter that we received in our email, removal of the requirement for an interconnection agreement prior to permitting. That was one in particular that I was really concerned about because of all the industry that reached out to me about that item. Imagine a scenario where in order to get a car, you have to have a driver's license. In order to get a driver's license, you have to have insurance. To get insurance, you have to have a car. Well, we got a problem because you can't have all three at the same time, right? You got to take steps. You got to do A before B before C. And an interconnection requirement with utility requires them to have site control and control of the land usage, a permit. So it's not enough for them to own a property. They have to actually have an agreement with zoning and et cetera to the planning of the project to get their interconnection agreement. And so that one line there actually adds an impediment that they would have to do both at the exact same time in order to satisfy the agreement.
I don't know. I think it adds another layer of protection for the citizens and communities in those municipalities, and I don't mind it being more of an obvious slip for a developer that's coming, particularly, we don't know, this amendment, or it's the start of us trying to not only if they do develop, but what happens when they leave and stuff. And I just would rather have, I think that type of stuff can be reworked, but I think you absolutely have to put some protections. I don't think the city thing could be delayed. I'm not, or should be delayed. And I think that those other, if Tom would have said, it really seen that much more material change. But even if it is, I feel a lot safer as a steward sitting at this body, looking out for the people who live in those areas more so than the development.
What concerns me is when we have such significant regulation that it actually prevents projects from being able to occur. The purpose of this, it was a mutual, neither favoring solar development nor trying to spur on solar development, but rather just setting some ground rules. And from what I'm being told by various industry professionals, that this is very much a cart before the horse kind of requirement, that this is out of order with the steps as they would naturally occur. And I'm not entirely sure what having a prior, interconnection agreement
They had a
has an
hearing,
effect of land use.
yeah, we had a hearing, they were able to come present that here to all, and I think you put in, again, I'm comfortable putting something in place. That has to come back and be reworked in 45 days, because the option, the other alternative is to not do anything and wait 45 days and try to put that in there, and I think it potentially does more harm to the community than it does it.
Oh, you had your hand up prior.
I was just going to say that Jessica said they could review it and start tweaking it right away. But
Right.
in the meantime, there's potential projects that are going to have no guidance.
My concern is that when we put a law on the books, it often takes a long period of time. And have actual real trouble because before you realize it's an issue, you review. There's a very good chance that this ordinance will sit on the books for 30 years before anybody looks at it. That's my concern. If we're gonna do it the first time, I think it should be done correctly, particularly in a way that is not going to put hurdles that cannot be overcome. We need to have them be accountable to the community and make sure that they are taking care of the roads and they're taking care of decommissioning. But when we're putting a hurdle in place that is something that all of them have objected to, and Mr. Orton, your point's well taken about the hearing. I wish that more did participate in that hearing. I thought it was actually kind of interesting. There was a Zoom as late as last night, of some of the individuals talking about this issue. And I guess I'm just thankful that the time that it takes to pass an ordinance, that we can get all the information that we need to have from them. And overall, I'm pretty favorable. I don't necessarily agree with the other 2 points 100%. There's some point there, but that one in particular, striking the language of a single paragraph, I think is not substantially altered. Appreciate that point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree we need to move forward because we need to have some sort of protection. Now, I don't have any interest in waiting. But the importance of what he's talking about, it's not just the developers, just to say the point. This is both sides. This is the environmental side and developers both agree that too much of a restriction could cause them to choose to not do a project, right? For energy source that we would back, right? We would get backing this as an energy source, but we don't want to make it so that, all right, I could go over here and I don't have to do this extra step, and us to lose out on an opportunity as well. It's up to us to make sure this doesn't take 30 years for us to come back to.
I don't think it's a county-wide thing. I think that you're talking 12 municipalities that don't have it. I think the other 25 or 25 do have something in place. And I don't see this as a situation because we're not the governing authority. We're just providing assistance to help them get something in place. But each municipality has the authority or the right to alter that or do. This is just the planning department helping them get something in place. So really, we could say, yeah, strike this or don't strike this. It really doesn't matter. They come back and put it in, take it out. If they want to, I think it's just putting something in place as a starting point, but you're talking 12 municipalities who have brought this to the table through planning and all of the other stuff that we work with them on. And even before Jessica, I've been the planning department has done good work, whether it's CDBG funds or even with the EMS systems, and I'm willing to trust them on this. I don't have any reason to think that it's anything they're trying to do, put impediments in ways, and she came here and said as much. She said, we're not for or we're against, we just want something in place, and I think after, and I won't say anything else about it, because I'm open to whatever consensus is. But other than that, I'd like to hold it up.
Sure.
Just one last comment is I think that those few municipalities though are also some of the most vulnerable. They don't have the capacity. That's why we're stepping in to protect them. So I think that's why we should do it.
I think that, and this will be the last point I raise about this. I asked a couple people the same question. Give to me in a logical way. Why this shouldn't be there, and I did my best to relate that. I also asked them for what would be the argument to have that requirement, to have an interconnection agreement prior to permit. And the consensus, there cannot think of conceivable reason why there should be a requirement to do C before B. And so that'd be my last point. That's what. Anybody else?
No, because, well, I said I want to say thing, but John Curtis was here. He was such a developer. He did take the time to come to the hearing and express it. He seemed to be, I don't know if he talked to you afterwards or whatever, but it seemed to be all right with what was put in. I'm not one way or the other. Voted up, voted down. I'm not prepared to hold it up or leave those communities unprotected for another 45, 90 days or whatever, while developers come in and have it.
Okay. Nothing else to add. We'll move on to the fun stuff. Number 3, library fund budget supplemental appropriation of $21,197 for donation to the Friends of the Library.
Hello. So this is a grant, that I worked with the Friends of the Library, to apply for in early summertime to help supplement our summer library program. This was through Erie Insurance. They awarded us this grant to support enhanced programming and additional literacy materials for patrons through the summer library program. And so this is just a pass through.
It's a grant and not a donation to the Friends of
It's
the
a
Library?
grant to that the, because it's for nonprofits, we applied together, the Friends of the Library applied for that, on our behalf, and they are then
And then
donating
they are
that money
donating
to the
proceeds
library
to
for
the-
that purpose, yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 4, 2024. Would be. Should we discuss 4 and 5 at the same time? Sure. Okay. A supplemental, or no, let's see, revised revenue expenditures of $278,420 for reorganization of library staff and a companion ordinance that sends that money to the general fund.
Yes, so this is a reorganization, and as I mentioned, when we all met briefly over the past few weeks, this is something that I've been working on since I stepped into the role. It was something that when being in a position where we had so many vacant positions, it was a good time to take a look and see if we were running as smoothly and as efficiently as we possibly could. So in order to get to this plan, I started by working with some of our districts partners, as well as some of my professional networks throughout the state, to pull about 60 library organization charts from libraries of similar size, similar funding, similar function. We distilled those down to the ones that were most relevant and started from that point. I conducted a staff engagement survey that allowed me to find out from the staff what they felt were the most challenging parts of what we do, what they felt were some of the barriers that were keeping them from being successful, how they felt we were best serving the community, how they felt we could better serve the community. And I worked through that into the plan. I also spoke with the state to ensure that this plan does in fact meet standards. I spoke with them as recently as this morning. We are within our standards with this plan. We are also secure in our library state funding with this plan. I had a workshop with the Library Advisory Board to garner their input as well, what they thought was our challenges, ways that we could make the library better, both for our staff and for what our impact on the community. And then that is what this plan is pulled together. I talked through this with some of our more senior library staff, that their input based on some of the problems and roadblocks that they have noticed over their time at the library. And then I took this plan in its entirety as you see it to the administration to ask if it would be possible to bring it here to you today, which is why I'm here. In a perfect world, I would not be bringing this to you until budget time. But because we are so lean in our management staff, it is more urgent and is not something that can wait until budget time. I have strategically decided not to fill those positions while I work on trying to get this plan to come through. Because I don't think it's a good use of people's time or taxpayer money to fill a position that could potentially change at the end of the year. I think that would be an underhanded move as a director on my part. So I'm here with this. The benefits that I see of this plan, and that I have spoken with some of my staff about are this provides opportunities for internal growth. We do have a retention issue. Some of that is based on environmental things that are affecting public libraries in general, but some of that is because there is no easy path for growth within the library. That's why you'll see this plan takes our fairly flat structure and creates some intermediary positions that some of our entry level and professional level staff that are outgrowing their positions would be able to outgrow them and still stay with the library. This also allows us to focus on our three major functions. Our collection, which would be the digital and physical things that we have that our community uses and that we make available to the community. Our literacy component, which is the educational materials and the educational programming that we offer. And then our branch services, which is where we take all of that we put together at the district center library and move it out to the branches. And it also allows us to have a better succession plan with the multi-levels of assistant directors, which is something that you'll see more and more in modern libraries. That allows more opportunities for interim directors should a director step out of the position, and also allows us to better cover if we were to lose an assistant director or if we were to have someone out on extended leave. It provides us more opportunity and a little bit more flexibility. This also allows us to make sure that we're consistently providing service across all of our major functions. So with each of these major functions having the same weight across the organization, we're able to give each of them a consistent amount of effort and focus. And of course, it does the savings, which I know is something that is a pain point for some of the people that came to speak today. That is also something that I would like to retain because it allows us to move into the budget year, protecting our staff, knowing that with cost of living increases, knowing that you all have a very difficult job with the budget this year, that we're able to move forward efficiently and that all of my staff will be able to feel solid in their jobs through the next budget cycle.
Mr. Chair. Ask a few questions. Last year at budget time, the administration tried to cut roughly 7 or 8 jobs. We restored a number of them. Is there 3 that was never filled, correct?
2 that I can think of, possibly 3.
And those will never come back or never needed. Now, the question is, we're coming out to a budget. If we do this reorganization now,
Yes.
number 1, we come to the budget. You reorganize and the budget is out of whack, which we assume it's gonna be. What if we go, what changes that you're gonna make now that we might make at budget time? Have you brought that into focus?
Can you clarify the question? What specific changes are you thinking will affect?
Well, you're reorganizing,
Yes.
okay? And one of the reasons we're reorganizing, or the library wants reorganized, is if you don't do it, I understand when our conversations, if we don't do it now, November, December, somewhere beginning of the year, you might have problems staffing a branch library, might have to close it for a day or 2.
Okay.
If we don't do it now.
If we don't do it now, my staff is going to continue to burn out. So my management staff is down to half. I don't want to fill positions that will potentially change. Many of my management staff, and I'm trying to take as much of that burden myself as possible so that I'm not burning out my staff, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, while we try to get to the point where we move into this. My management staff is excited about the possibility of this, but if we were to wait until December, there's no guarantee that they're not going to burn out and look for employment elsewhere, and I don't want to lose good people. And to function, we do need to have certain levels of management within our buildings to be able to open and remain open.
So we reorganize now
Yes.
for the sake of all those issues.
Mhm.
Now we come up to budget time.
Mhm.
Maybe it's the administration or maybe it's county council that says, we're out of whack here, we're gonna have to do something, let's look at the library. And all those changes that you just reorganized or changed might be for naught.
We aren't gonna be able to cut any further than this because we will be so close to our state minimum that if someone were to cut us beyond this,
We would lose state
we
funding.
would lose state funding.
Okay.
So it's a strategic move to put us in a position where we are above state, the state minimum, so that we have a little bit of a cushion should someone decide to leave, right, when it's time for an audit, but it also brings us to a point where my staff feels secure moving through December, through the budget time, that we can't actually cut any more people.
If we close a branch temporarily because we're short-staffed, does that affect state funding?
Yes,
Good.
because we have to be open a certain number of hours.
Thank you.
Yes.
How does this help the county rural branches?
How does this help the
How does this help my district? Like, I understand you have this set up here, like, how does it help, like?
That's a great
Northeast? How does
question.
it help Troy? How does it help these other locations?
So based on what happened last year, we're learning that we do not have enough supervisory coverage at the branches. This helps us to transition some of our coverage without adding additional taxpayer money to our budget, where we have more management and supervisory staff at the branches. And it also moves the bookmobile back to its original function, which was as a circulation vehicle, as a mobile branch. And so we'll be able to, with the bookmobile falling under the branch services, we will be able to better reach those parts of the county that are not currently served by an ECPL branch library or by an independent.
Is there any increase in the services that are gonna be offered in the county by having more administration, like the programs, some of the reading
I
programs,
expect
like
at
different
this
things
point,
like that?
we will stay relatively flat. My goal is to have this be phase one of kind of a 3-stage mini strategic plan. So this puts us in a position. We are currently running in survival mode. I would like to put us in a position where we're running for the future, but to do that, you can't run a marathon if you're out of shape and you're sick. And so I'm trying to put our organization back together so that we can start to collect data about where we are most needed in the community and who we are not reaching in the community, so that I can hopefully come to you in 18 to 24 months with good data showing where we need to grow so that we can increase our programs. At this time, I expect it to stay flat with this structure. You may see an increase in programming because there's a focused, less redundant structure for our literacy services. So you may see an increase in programming because they're actually, instead of having us fragmented and trying to do all things for all people, we're actually able to focus on the areas of strength, both with our librarians and with the rest of our staff.
But the bookmobile in the meantime, before you get to the 18 to 24 months, will be utilized
It'll
more
be-
in the way it was supposed to in the.
It will primarily be used to serve schools and to serve those parts of the county that are not currently served by.
Have their own library or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And from what I understand, and it was before my time, that was actually the intention of the bookmobile when it was added to the library.
So I would normally be pretty deferential on formation of an organizational chart. You're in charge of running an organization, so I would defer to you on that. But what I can't seem to understand is why a proposed reorganization includes a cut of a part-time library clerk and a librarian, rank and file bargaining positions, that I wouldn't think would be affected by a reorganization? What's the pressure there?
Those were open and that was input that I garnered when I sought input from our management staff currently. If we are looking to ensure that we can remain as flat as possible through the next budget year, those were vacant and we are running sufficiently at that level without filling those. Mr. Clinton. Sorry.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing the information down, and thank you for entertaining us. That's good. About this issue. And I'll say the same thing I said at the meeting then. It's great that you come and tell us how everyone's receptive to it. But I can't even have a conversation with your staff about it. Hell, when you leave this room, I can't come down to the library and have a conversation with you about it. Administration set it up that way. And I guess I'm just a natural skeptic because I haven't been called up to see the administration for like 2.5 years. And with this being the library being embroiled in controversy over the last, I'm not against looking at it, but I am against acting on it. I think that this is self-inflicted and that there could have been those vacancies. Certainly could have been filled by the administration way before you come in. And I've been here long enough to see what the sound of urgency sounds like and what the sound of urgency is like. And I don't see any reason, even you implement this, we're gonna get the budget in 45 days. We had the largest taxing hike in my lifetime. Probably gonna have another one. I suspect that there's probably not an accurate accounting of our finances. And that's, I have to be suspectful of it because this body went a whole year without an accountant. When we hired an accountant, didn't check the book, retail 101. You take over someone's drawer, you check the drawer. So we did like a year. Our old accountant fired us. My colleague left because we couldn't get access to the FMS system. Our accountant doesn't have access to the FMS system. And so I really had, in fact, our accountant told us he didn't have no faith. He told me and my colleague, stop it if I speak out of sorts. It really just made me nauseated that he didn't have confidence in the numbers because we don't have access to everything. I understand that the system has been updated finally. Electric checkbook or electronic checkbook after it had been updated since August of 2019. We have a young council. Some haven't been here a year. Some haven't been here full term. Helen and I are the most experienced. I think I got 5 years. I don't know with them as an experience. So on this thing here, we're gonna ask for an audit on our later in our agenda. We have to narrow the scope. We haven't quite figured it out. But this administration hasn't been transparent. I would even go so far as to say that they've obstructed. And so any goodwill that I would be willing to give has kind of been, don't make sense for me to do it 45 days before the budget. I happen to know that that library won't fold if I don't act in 45 days. It won't fold. Even the people being worked, even the people being working jobs, and I know about burnout too. I'm not prepared to do anything with this administration until we get the budget. We're in court over the 2023 budget, which impacted the 2024 budget. So it's really unfair to you, but you're in the position, so you have to answer to it. I would recommend or suggest to my colleagues that they take a hard, hard look at anything that comes down in the next 45 days, that we would probably be better off. This is something that's really extremely, we should wait till budget. We made, I believe we're slated for another huge tax break. I believe the Erie County is in trouble financially. I don't have anything to say we're not, because when we ask for stuff, we can't get it. Hell, I sit here and ask, we had 2 accountants sitting here. We can't even get an accounting on how much ARP money is left. Maybe my colleagues know a little bit more about the stuff than I do. They probably do. But 45 days, nothing you do right now. If we approve this Tuesday, it's gonna be 30 days, 35 days. And so surely they can absorb anything for 30 days. So we figure this out. And I think that we owe it to the citizens. To at least be upfront with them about it. I think that at every meeting I come to for the last, maybe missed a month or 2, but I think I should get back on it. And that's the budget is here. We don't have resolution on a lot of this stuff, which is crazy. That I can't come talk to you without you being fear of your job, or I can't talk to your employees, not just yours, any of throughout the county. Jim can't pick up the phone and call DeMatteis. Charlie can't pick up the phone and call. So why would we do anything? And I know it's just my opinion, as I was told.
I can pick it.
Yeah, you pick up the phone and call. Yeah, you probably could, you call upstairs, but the directive that I seen in writing that the administration sent down, was I don't want to say that. I said we couldn't, you said, oh, we should talk to them, we should go through Bill Sparrows or Mr. Smith. They have to have.
Call the director anytime you want.
Yeah, can she talk?
Yeah.
Can I make an appointment to come down and see you?
Yes, no?
No, hell no, she here, cat got her tongue. And I shouldn't have to do that to her, but he sent the memo down, I'll pull it up for you. It said that we shouldn't talk, or that unless we go through Attorney Sparrows, or Britton, or the Director of Administration. Did anybody else not see that?
It wasn't friendly either.
It wasn't friendly.
It wasn't friendly.
And so,
Other than that.
and so, but I'm tough, I got tough skin, I don't care about all of that, and I don't try to put the pressure on the directors, because they gotta take care of their table. But I think that we could deal with a lot of this stuff at budget time in a way that the directors don't have to feel, or that their employees don't have to feel. And I think that's fair. I think that in 45 days, we're gonna get a budget that we're arguing over, that we spent $1.3 million in January after we, right into the new budget. We just spent $2 million on the roof. So we're $3-4 million above what we budgeted for. And none of this, and they would say, oh, we're gonna make savings. But I can't go ask the people who are gonna be impacted by it the most, how they feel it. I have to depend on someone's word saying, yeah, they like this, Until I go to the library and they say,
Council,
under their breath.
I very much agree with you, just in the interest of time.
I
I
get it.
just would ask us to be a little bit more
I get it.
topical on the agenda.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna know on all of this in summation.
And the last word I would offer on it is, I'm okay with reorganization. I get a little bit sketchy on just seeing some cuts of some rank and file positions. When we're gonna save $250,000, it would be nice to reinvest into those to provide additional services. That's
I respect
have to say. Anybody else have any comments on? Yeah. Okay. All right, moving to. Thank you. Moving to number 6, provide expenditures for creation of new line item, election facilities and equipment manager position. I think that would be your territory.
Sure, this is really an opportunity to match the responsibilities and duties of what's currently being done by the coordinator at the warehouse. It really is putting the job in line with the proper title and the proper classification and pay grade. So it's not a change in personnel, it's a change in their title and job description. They're just matching up what they're actually doing.
So in summation, we have that guy working on like a government mule, moving all the equipment all over the county on election day. We should bring his wages. He should be compensated. I agree.
He's responsible for over 800 voting machines. He has 21 technicians. He's got a staff of 6 per diems down there. A heavy level of responsibility during the entire year and on the election nights as well, of course. So this is moving his position from NB 10 to NB 15. And also he'll be going from a position that is not salaried to a salaried position. So the current salary looks a certain way, but he receives overtime, and that would also change where he would be salaried going forward. This is done in collaboration with the staff and personnel from the elections department and the warehouse. So everyone's aware of what this would look like.
Thank you, because I know the workload that he has over there. This is a long time to overcome. We really tax that young man. We don't see the work he does so much during the local elections, but it's to the 10th hour in a presidential election, and I've never heard him complain. I've never heard him, he does a great job. Could you convey that as the chairman of the election board? I'm really, really grateful to you and all of our staff.
I would say I'm very favorable towards this. I think it's a good move. Perhaps it's me being a little bit new still, but the creation of a new line item for the position, wouldn't that normally come with an associated value? On the ordinance? I guess that's the one thing that I'm kind of missing.
If there is,
Are you creating an additional line item to have an interdepartment like transfer?
it's within our own budget. We're not looking for a supplemental appropriation from the general fund. This is something that we can accommodate through our own budget.
Creation of a line item that you could transfer into. from
Right,
your own
so we have, that paperwork has already been generated, that's gone up to the administration and to human resources, so they have all the documents that they need for that. It's not something that we include publicly because it's a personnel, at that point, there's a personnel matter involved.
Hey,
Yes, this is really just a reclassification of
Right.
the position.
Mhm.
So there really should be a budget item. Shows where the money's coming from, going to another two transfer. The raise.
That, and like I said,
It's not
that's
trans-
gone up to HR, and they said they're holding the documents until this goes through the channels here, and then that paperwork would be generated. If there's something else that I would need to do,
Yeah, discuss. it.
okay.
sounds like you're moving forward with that. Where am I at here? Thank you. All right, number 7, approving the county council response to the 2025-2027 Cary County Operational Capital Plan. Sarah, I think you'd be the one that would speak intelligently on that topic.
Yes, we met, Bob was here, Andre was here. We have to respond to the 3-year plan. Which we received, I believe, we were supposed to receive on first, what was it, January 1st? We didn't receive it to the 13th. We responded. I think you,
I have a letter here if you want it. Sure.
Or it's going to be in your package.
your county council accepts the 2025-2027 3-year plan of the county executive Brett Davis. It is the premise from which council diligently and transparently fund mandated and non-mandated services at the most reasonable cost possible. While this response includes input from all current members of Erie County, which I hear too much from most of the county council members. So that's why the three of us were involved. It does not reflect the totality of their views, nor does this response affirm a commitment to any particular set of policies by all members. It is based solely on current information and recommendations by the administration, therefore is subject to change as warranted. Erie County Council hereby adopts the 2025-27 3-year plan, subject to statements contained herein. Erie County Council will continue to keep the interests of the taxpayers primarily in mind as it conducts the business of county government. We ask all county employees and elected officials in all branches of county government to join us in this pursuit. And that's what we'll be voting.
Just for the record, though, I did call Megan.
Or if you call Megan, it was either to Megan or myself.
Right, that's how it was worded. so-
Sorry.
Did you read the recommendation? Council, the role of forces. Which were there.
They're right there.
Oh, they're
What was
right.
about that, yeah.
Okay, recommendations. Prioritize the capital projects based on urgency and importance. Address livable wages for employees and develop a comprehensive plan for an enjoyable environment to ensure a desirable and fulfilling workplace culture. Restore food services in the courthouse for employees and the public to ensure ease of access and affordability. Perform analysis of space and storage for county departments to utilize own space and create new space possibilities. Develop the IT department for better online record keeping and updates within 48 hours for public consumption and to ensure transparency. That's our recommendations.
Are we good with that?
Yeah, so
Moving on to number 8. In support of a forensic audit of the county of Erie to provide a degree of transparency into the administration of finances and the reporting, disseminating the findings of the audit brought forward by Councilman Horton.
Yeah, we're still trying to focus on limiting it in scope. I spoke with our former accountant and he advised that I speak with the attorney and perhaps talk with him later. I think that the ARP money, opium money, gaming revenue funds and perhaps planning might be areas to look at, but because we don't have enough information to limit it in scope. I feel that it's necessary because we didn't check the drawer. Every time we ask our accountants for an answer, they have to go to the administration. And they give us an answer. But there's a reason that we have our own accountant. The Gatsby, the ZNA audit is a spot check. It's been auditor, Terry's been out. It's a spot check and it pretty much goes, we check 10 or 20% and everything is in accordance with Gatsby and that's not what we need. I spoke with Colin prior to the meeting, who said that the e-check has been updated, hadn't been updated since 2019. We went a year without an accountant. We've had a precedented tax hike. And we do a $600 million budget. I think we don't get the exact amount of encumbered or unencumbered money or funds as the finance director is charged to do under the administrative code, the home rule charter. We don't receive that. It gives us a report, but it tells us it's an approximate, and that's not what the language says. It should be exact. And I'm not comfortable, nor should you be, when we have 2 jobs. It's budget and policy. And so just imagine you working at a business or you owning a business. And you're responsible for millions of dollars. Someone come and ask you for an accounting of that money. And your accountant, who you pay as well, tells you that they don't have confidence in the numbers because they're not getting cooperation from the administration in terms of the FOS system. I can tell you that it was painful to hear that, Charlie, that I don't have confidence in the numbers from Mr. Bones. I appreciate his candor. So, I put this resolution forward, asking for an accounting of our finances. Want to know if we have the political will to do it. And once we limit the scope, if we say, yeah, we do, then we proceed. And while I'm on it, this cannot be. I think we did some other stuff earlier in the year. We're still waiting on the question to come back from the planning department. But there's the opium settlement money I've talked to several of you about, formally and informally, only to find out that you really didn't have a grasp or know or understand or even know that it existed, which is problematic. And I just think that we owe it to the citizens as legislators to be able to look them in the face and say that we understand where your money's at. Right now, I'm embarrassed to say, with my years of experience on it, that I don't know. I don't have those problems on the retirement pension board funds. I just have here in Erie County stuff. So that's my take. I'm asking you all to support, to express that you have the will to do that audit and to find out what just exactly what's what. And I'll accept whatever this body decides. I won't stand up and do it.
Any other comments on the resolution? I'm just wondering what our controller's office, what's the function there? Because to me, I mean, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't crazy, but I actually got on our website and when I look at the controller's office, it says as the county's top elected fiscal officer, the controller is responsible to the taxpayers to protect their tax dollars from fraud, waste, and misuse in county government. Controller and staff lead the fight against inefficient and inequitable spending and are focused on making county government more transparent and accountable to the taxpayers. Controller's office maintains a continuous audit and prepares an annual post audit of county revenues and accounts, which is available. Special internal audits are conducted as the controller deems necessary or is requested by other elected officials. Reports of fraud, waste, or misuse of county funds or property may be anonymously sent to the link board. So I'm just wondering where our controller's office, what role are they not doing their job? Are they doing,
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because I've been meeting with them regularly too. And usually the controller checks years for the previous year and not audit, but he has the power to address any individual department that he cares to investigate. But generally, it's like the previous year.
we can direct him, right, to do whatever we are
Yeah, we can.
concerned about.
Yeah, we can do that too, but so I don't want you to think that I'm out here on the island that I haven't had conversations with him. Quite frankly, he's been very, very refreshing because he sat in that chair for these chairs for like 17 years. So he has a little bit of an understanding. I didn't feel that I had enough knowledge to proceed. So we've had a conversation. If we want to do a letter, a specific scope of work, and certainly he's able to do that. But my purpose for putting this resolution forward is I'm not looking for any wrongdoing, saying anything was done that wasn't done properly. I'm saying I don't think
But we can't get that through the controller is what I'm saying. We can't get that answer, then are they doing their job? Because they're the
he just
fiscal
did a report.
responsibility.
Yeah, he gave us a report at the end of the year when we asked him specifically about the ARP money. I think he provided it to all of you only for us to come in here and have two different numbers from, we can trust his numbers. The administration gave us one number, our accountant gave us another number. And so I could go with the numbers that he has. But to date, we still don't know how much ARP money is. is encumbered or has been spent. If you, I suggest to you that if we ask our finance director right now, that he would probably give us a different answer than he gave us if we haven't passed anything to allocate or appropriate any ARP money since January, when we put the $1 billion for ECCM homeless initiatives and the 1.5 billion for DEIC. And so that number certainly wouldn't change. I think we ask that number every other month. And then to have someone come in and say, hey, but we got a $5 million thing like that at our last meeting, and our accountant didn't know, that's kind of problematic for me. You know, so I don't know. I don't know.
Well, for me, it's problematic if I'm asking for a number and the controller can't provide that number. And if the controller can provide that number and we're saying we don't trust it, that's another problem.
No, we're not saying we don't trust the controller's number.
Right?
We're saying we don't trust these numbers because of the lack of transparency and even, like I said, even so far as obstructing. And so at some point, the numbers should be reconciled. That's the purpose of doing it, so that you can move forward. So right now, we have a number for the controller. If I had to go with the number, I would take the controller's number. He's not our account. If I had to take a number, I couldn't take Paul's number. Excuse me, I don't want to make it personalized, but I couldn't take the administration's numbers because they're all different. They're all different numbers. They're all different numbers. And so I'm telling you that our accountant in the last week and a half stood with Chris and I, told us that he didn't have confidence in the numbers. And so if that's a letter to the auditor to ask, you gotta find scope of work, because you don't know what question to ask, because they don't give us any information and we can't talk to anybody. And so it makes it difficult. And so, but I put this resolution forward. I'm certainly not against asking the controller to delve into it. But I think to do that, you have to still, even with that or this, we have to come down with a limited scope. I'm just here to ask, do you all have the desire of the heart or the will, political will, to check our books, check ourselves, hold ourselves accountable, not hold them accountable. Not hold him accountable. Hold us accountable.
Ellen, yes, sorry.
Yes, we've had several outside audits and we've had the controller do the work. And there's been nothing found amiss at all. And to spend $25,000 of taxpayer money to conduct another audit when we've been repeatedly told there's no problems. And this $25,000 for everything you're saying you want checked doesn't even sound like it's going to give them time to do a forensic audit.
I don't think we identified anything that we want checked. I think that really the resolution is pretty self-explanatory. It says that we will have a dispute with the transparency and that we want to do an audit. I think I prefaced my remarks by saying that we're still bringing that scope of work into focus on limiting to what that is. But like I said, I was an auditor for a lot of years. Terry was like 35 years. I understand the audit that CNA did. I understand that they come and they say, hey, we did everything and we checked everything falls in accordance with GASB 17. It's a 10%, 20% spot check of maybe 2 or 3 departments. It's not at all what we're talking about. What we're talking about is trying to find out what our accurate financial status is, because in October, we're gonna get that budget. I don't think we received a balance. I know that we didn't receive a balanced budget last year, October 1st, actually October 3rd, whatever day they gave it to us. But it wasn't a balanced budget as evidenced by all the expenditures that we had to spend in January or February. And so I think that that's like retail 101. I think anybody who works at Macy's or Mason Farms would know that when the shift ends and you get your drawer, check your drawer. I'm not asking us just to kick the tire, check the drawer out. I'm not looking to find any wrong. I'm not saying, oh, you. I'm saying that, how do you know?
I guess my response to that is, why would you not narrow it down to the areas that you want? I'm sorry, Andrew.
Just say
If you narrow it down and then have the controller look at, it, instead of spending taxpayer money.
You know,
I think voted down, because at this point, it don't, we can go on, say apple, I say A, this stuff, and so all your points are valid. I don't disagree with anything you said. I don't. But in the interim, it's like, I've been coming here saying, hey, we got, and I watched that guy come here at ZNA, I worked with him for years. He come here, like I said, if we do this, and this, there's nothing been done wrong under Gatsby standard accounting procedures and all the accountants speak. But it doesn't give you an accurate reflection. Yeah, we just couldn't even, we just got the thing updated from 2019.
One thing I would say. Because I told Councilman Horton that I would support him in seeking the information he would like to have. Some difference to this experience and expertise. And I don't have strong opinions one way or the other, but I do think it's a little interesting comparing and contrasting the conversation to whether or not we needed to have the Auditor General look into ECRIM. And I didn't hear a lot of cries to have our controller perform an audit there. I didn't hear a lot of cries about the really intense taxpayer bill that we're gonna get at the state level, not out of our own budget, but the state level. And that's all I would suggest to that criticism.
I think you also didn't hear that when I requested financial information from ECRA, I was told that it was a right to know, even though council is the one that oversees that authority. So to be told that and told that I couldn't get that information, I think it escalated things.
The information was ultimately given. I think it was more about establishing parameters of what time to expect the response.
Yeah, you guys want to limit the scope of work, if we would limit the scope of work, I'm not adverse, like I said, I don't disagree with anything Eleanor Charles said as far as the controller. I think that stuff is like the year going by. I'm glad that we're finally having this conversation. Again, I'll say the budget's coming in 40. I've been here long enough to see that after that budget comes in, it comes out, it's not favorable. They say, you did it, county council, that you did that. And so, okay, we are, that's our job. Whatever happened, we're responsible for after October 1st. But you don't just, no one should just get it. We don't know. Yeah. It hurts me to tell my constituents I don't know. I used to could refer them to the system. Colin says it's back up, but that's what they put, what you put in, what you don't put in is what we don't see. And stuff, and that's some painful stuff as a legislator to tell your constituents you don't know what the hell you're doing. Because you don't have the necessary tools to do your job. And we can solve this all right now. We just give us access to FMS and stuff and give us, and put blocking or obstructing us, we can solve it right now. Don't spend a dime. We send a letter, ask them again. Mary sent letters. Tom sent letters. I don't know, not what's saying, I guess.
Before we move on to number 9, I Mr. Carroll, I saw Mr. Senate left. I'd like to relate that I think the last couple of meetings we had the financial director and not much else staff, but both yours and Joe's attendance is noted and appreciated. Please relay that. Understood, but it's nice to have you here. It's nice to have Mr. Sitting here.
Not good enough for you?
No, your attendance is very much, your attention, no, sir.
Just do it, no.
Hold on just a moment, because I did not disparage you. I was offering,
Thanks to Christopher Conrad.
because your attendance is always noted and always appreciated. The other attendance has been notably absent. And I had asked that, I had suggested that it felt a little disrespectful. And so it was nice to have Mr. Sinnott here today. I appreciate you being here. And with that, your attendance is always appreciated because number 9 is very important to me.
Oh, the hell of a statement, right? If all the ordinances in front of you are approved, the county's requirements, the requirements of 2 months general fund expenditures and unrestricted fund balance by $28,094,842 based on the formulas that's been used for about the last 20 years.
Yeah, before you adjourn, I just want to note that the only time we really see the directors are when they come and they have stuff on our agenda. They used to attend the meetings regularly, but I think their attendance card has been pulled. And so if you come to our meetings, our finance and personnel meetings, and you take note, and you'll usually see our finance director, the director of administration, and Mr. Carroll. You no longer see our HR people, you no longer see anyone else from the finance department, you no longer see human services unless they, And so it's a glaring, and I think that's just, I just have to note that because that's not exactly the way you should run a business. With that.
Do you want me to pass this along? I never used it.
Sure.
I never had one before.
We'll call to order the personnel meeting. First on the agenda, ordinance number 2024 appointed official salary ordinance, full-time assistant public defender. We had our first read 7/16/24. But do you have any comments on that? Move on to number 2, ordinance number 2024. Appointed official salary ordinance, part-time assistant public defender.
Yes, sir. My name is Nicole Sloan Connerly. Good afternoon. I'm required to come before you every time we fill a vacancy. This was a vacancy created when someone retired from a part-time position. We're filling it with an individual who's out of Mercer County. He'll be coming up to East Springfield where the district judge is, that is currently open. I asked for 5% over the advertised rate, and that is because he has been an attorney since 2007. He was an assistant district attorney in Mercer County, has a significant amount of experience, and actually just was co-counsel in a homicide case here in Erie County just last month and did a great job. So that's why I was asking for 5%.
This is within budget.
Yes, sir. The person that left the position did so after 20 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, possible reappointment of TJ Sandell to the NWPA Job Connect Board, Workforce Development Board, term to expire June 30th, 2028, brought forward by the county executive. And last and still there, number 4, tabled item ordinance number 13, 2024 appointed official salary ordinance. Director of Administration, we have the first read 22/13/24, tabled on 2/27/24.
Can I read something to add to that? This is from Megan, Deputy Director. This will not be included going forward. If any member of council wishes to address it. In personnel, they should let Megan know, and it will be added back to the agenda. It can be on table at any regular meeting that may not be voted on until the following meeting when included on the agenda. So this is on the agenda for Tuesday. Going forward, it will not be on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Nope.
Oh,
Don't be trying to set.
What did it happen? Who said that?
Megan said that's.
What does Megan get?
Just, listen, I don't know. That was sort of
Okay,
discussion.
we'll have to look at that.
To be addressed.
I mean, that's council's prerogative once it's on the agenda.
Well, she did talk to me about it.
Okay.
It didn't bother me, and you can always add it back to the agenda. If you
Yeah.
wanna move this on, you got Tuesday.
Another executive session.
Pardon?
We're supposed to be in an executive session.
Oh, that's something else? Is there supposed to be an executive session?
But somebody said you deal with it when you got the person.
No.
You.
He was talking about our raises.
Just trying to round with Mr. Winarski's time up to a full 5 minutes, that's all.
So tell us about career.
You got a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Good. Olympics was a bucket list item and.
And how bad do they beat you up
Say again.
going to these venues? I mean.
No, they're not. So the IOC makes sure that they release a certain amount of tickets where people can afford them. I paid less than I paid on the Steelers game. Yeah,
Paper copies, and
For all.
yeah, one session I paid,
Yeah, it's okay, it ain't too.
Thank you.
Young person.
one session I paid $50 for one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Paul,
Yeah, I spent, for my wife and I to go to 3 sessions each, I spent less than $500.
Oh, wow.
nice meeting you.
Yeah.
That is bad.
That's why I